Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Lightfoot.
Let's make him welcome Mr. Gordon Lightfoot.
He is one of the most iconic Canadian musicians of all time. His songs, some 200 of them, weaved into the fabric of the country. Gordon Lightfoot has been performing for more than half a century.
Everybody is moving, nothing stays the same.
His sound helped define the folk scene explosion of the 1960s, a very Canadian star with international appeal. His songs have been recorded by a long list of music giants, from Johnny Cash to Neil Young, Sinatra to Elvis. Lightfoot even inspired an anthem of the disco era. Every song tells a story, from railways to romance. You can feel his words. The great Bob Dylan calls Lightfoot his favorite singer-songwriter and even helped induct him into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame.
I've known Gordon for a long time, and I know he's been offered this award before, but he has never accepted it because he wanted me to come and give it to him.
Lightfoot's storied career is now the focus of a new documentary on Gem, and he's not nearly finished. The 81-year-old has just released a new album and plans to tour once COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. I had a rare chance to talk to Gordon Lightfoot in his home just before the pandemic hit. So my first question is not a profound question at all. I'm just curious about this room. Do we call it the music room?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It just looks fantastic. Tell me a little bit about this room. For example, there are 3 guitars that I guess 4 here. That one's a little battered, but that's your beloved one, right?
Well, sometimes your loved one can be a problem. It is. It's an old guitar, and I found it years ago. I was staying at the King of the Road Hotel down in Nashville working on a record, and I found it in a record store or an instrument store, and bought it for a couple of $100, and now it's my main Martin guitar for on stage.
And there's a little thing cut out that says, "Anger can kill you." Is that just a little reminder for you?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I've got a short fuse too, sometimes.
Still?
Yeah, it reminds me.
Yeah. Because you seem like such a calm, gentle person.
Well, I try to stay that way. It's part of my. I really try to be friendly and get along with people.
Do you ever get tired of worrying just a little bit?
Let's talk about your new album.
Yeah.
One song kind of stands out because it's very playful on the album. I think it's called Just a Little Bit. And then there's some songs that are more wistful and maybe even a little melancholy on that album.
Songs of anguish in there. There's songs about his nightmarish songs. But a guy's having a nightmare. He's dreaming and he's saying, at night I'm drifting on a sea of despair. I see a bimbo and there is no body there. That's, where are the girls in my life?
So that does seem to be a theme, right?
Yeah, it's always been that kind of a theme.
But, I think of the documentary, and you very explicitly talk about some regrets in that documentary in terms of relationships with women over the years.
I regret it very much. A lot of it. I created emotional trauma in a whole lot of people, and didn't really know that I was doing it at the time, but I was hurting people's feelings. I learned to be very careful about that after many years in the business. But the trauma that I have brought on to other people, I regret very highly.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about your music. And not just the new music, but the old music. And I was thinking to myself that somebody who's my age grew up with your music. I know your music so well, and I love it. But there are people who are watching this who maybe are new to Canada or are younger, and they don't know your music. If we were to make a playlist, kind of the essential playlist of Gordon Lightfoot for some of those people to understand what should be on it, I mean, at the top of my list, I'd put If You Could Read My Mind.
I never knew I could feel this way, and I've got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong. The feeling's gone, and I just can't.
So let me throw out a few other names if I would put on the list, and you either tell me don't put it on that list or why you think it should be on it. Obviously, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
I can tell you a couple.
Okay.
Okay, The Wreck, Sundown, Early Morning Rain,
Yeah.
Canadian Railroad Trilogy,
Absolutely.
Song for a Winter's Night, Carefree Highway.
Yeah. The only one on that list I hadn't thought of is Song for Winter's Night, but that, which you didn't actually write in Canada, right?
That was right when I was out on the road. Yeah.
In the summertime.
Yeah.
But it sounds like such a quintessentially Canadian winter song.
The air is still in the silence of my room. I hear your voice softly calling.
One of the really cool things about you is, I mean, you've stayed in Toronto all this time, but also you really have explored rural Canada. Not a lot of people who have been #1 on Billboard's chart have also canoed through all these Canadian rivers and enjoyed the wildlife there. Has it had an impact on you as a person? Has it changed you at all as a person being in those places?
I never actually forget about meeting animals face to face in those situations. When you're standing looking at a musk oxen and he's like standing like 15 feet away from you looking at you, I've written one of my best tunes on it. I wrote a song called Shadows up there one time. Wrote the whole tune right on the trail.
There's a shadow on the moon and the waters here below do not shine the way they should. And I love you just in case you didn't know. Let it go.
There's an interesting story about that song, Shadows. Apparently your friend Bob Dylan was playing a show in Edmonton a few years back, and a fan shouted it out as a request. He knows it.
He knows that.
And he
one.
sang it. I mean, I know you've had this long relationship with Bob Dylan.
Well,
but
I mean, we had more fun just hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like it was like more of a laugh than anything else,
But that he would know your song so well and that a fan would know to shout that out in a concert, and in an instant he just adds it to his set. What does that say?
I
to
know
you?
about that. I was quite surprised by that actually.
The song that you wrote on a canoe trip.
Yes. So that's just the way it goes.
I mean, tell me about the connection between the two of you, especially in the 60s and 70s.
Well, okay, I remember years before the Woodstock Festival, just hanging out with all those guys and the wives of my first wife and Sarah and our children, all playing together.
And I think you had
our
lots.
kids played together.
Yeah.
Our children played together. At one point, my house in Rosedale here was like party central for a whole lot of these people because it was only like 8 minutes from downtown.
So over the years, who's been in your house to party or to play music? So Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Paul Simon, I think one time.
Yeah,
right?
he's been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we practiced there. He came up to my house after a party one night and was there for 2 or 3 hours. He had some people up there, but I took him up to the 3rd floor and I played him the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald because I had just written it about 2 weeks before.
Wow.
And I said, well, check this one out. And he sat and listened to it right through. I love their work. I've always loved Simon and Garfunkel's work.
Hang on
Just
a sec,
that
though.
much.
Hang on a sec. So you played for him, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald,
And-
before basically anyone in the public had heard it, right?
Yeah, he was the first
He's
person
the Bridge
to
Over
note that
Troubled
I-
Water guy, right?
and-
So, I mean, he wrote one of those, I mean, so many great songs, but an epic song as well. What did he say when he heard Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald? What did Paul Simon say?
He said, I like it. I like it. Gee, that sounds good.
So I'll finish with this. You seem like a contented guy. New album out, documentary celebrating your incredible career. You're still touring. What's left? Is there anything left on your to-do list?
No, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay. I want to stay happy. I want to stay happy. No matter what happens, I'm going to stay happy.
Well, I don't know that you fully appreciate how many people have been touched by your music and still are. And I've told you, they're songs of yours I can listen to in any circumstance at any time, and they just are moving. And it really is a remarkable thing. So it's really nice to have a chance to talk to you.
Thank you.